Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis, Pulse 95.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis. Now, we've got a very interesting week here in the United Arab Emirates. Both the foreign ministers of Pakistan and India are here in the country. Pakistan's foreign minister went over to the Expo 2020 site and looked at the Pakistan pavilion, had a conversation with the local dignitaries here, business communities, as well as media. A bit of an interaction that was going on. And His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan has also received the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation yesterday, Dr. Subramaniam Jayashankar, the Indian Minister of External Affairs. But there's a bit of a big talk and a bit of whispers going on because it was pointed out earlier that the UAE is going to be playing a mediating role in formalizing ties and forging ties between the two countries. But yesterday was a very, very busy day for local media.
It was a busy day for you especially. You sat down and you spoke with the Pakistani foreign minister, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, right?
Yes, it was.
And he arrived actually in the UAE on Saturday on a 3-day official visit to hold bilateral talks with the UAE leadership about the relationship between India and Pakistan. Am I right?
Well, that's what we assumed. The media did. And when we spoke to the foreign minister yesterday as local media, and he did clarify that he's here for a bilateral visit. He's here to talk the UAE and Pakistani ties. He's not here for any particular meetings with anyone. But he obviously denied it, and we obviously took it with a bit of a pinch of salt, saying, okay, yeah, we know. Yeah, we're pretty sure there'll be something going on behind the scenes. But so that's how it all started. So we sat down yesterday with the foreign minister, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, and we had a very detailed discussion. And luckily I was nominated to be one of the people to interview him, and that conversation aired on local media Khaleej Times. Now, we are going to be playing parts of that interview, and a very diplomatic kind of an interview, because during that interview he was quite vocal about the relationship with India, and so we will focus a little bit more on what he said about the United Arab Emirates.
Did he talk about the UAE's role in the Pakistan-India mediation leading to ceasefire on line of control in Kashmir?
No, he did mention saying that we welcome and appreciate efforts by third parties. But it's not going to be for that he thinks that the matter should be solved by the two countries themselves, and it's great to have someone willing to show mediation, but he himself has got nothing scheduled officially to say he's going to be meeting the Indian foreign minister or would be having a bit of a conversation. So the idea behind this whole situation is to reduce the animosity and hostility that we had seen over the past few years, and things have slightly toned down. But let's listen into this clip. I began by asking him that very same question, saying, well, what's the purpose of your trip? Because this comes at a very interesting time that both you top diplomats of each country are here. So this is the Pakistan Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi speaking to myself on behalf of the local media Khaleej Times.
Now things are slightly changing. We see that the Indian Foreign Minister is also arriving in Abu Dhabi. We see and hear that the United Arab Emirates wants to play a role in forging the ties between the two countries. What's the agenda this time around?
Well, I'm here for a bilateral visit. I'm here to see the Foreign Minister of UAE, who's been very forthcoming, very supportive of Pakistan. This is a very special year vis-a-vis UAE and Pakistan. This year, we will be celebrating 50 years of our friendship. So it's a very, very special year for our diplomatic relations. So I'm primarily here to discuss with him our evolving bilateral relations, what we can do for the future in further strengthening our bonds, which are unique, very special, historic. I'm also here to discuss the evolving regional situation. You see developments taking place in Afghanistan. You are hearing of a peace conference being organized in Turkey, Istanbul. So it might give me a good opportunity to hear his point of view. As far as India-Pakistan situation is concerned, I can share with you that Pakistan from day one wanted good neighborly relations with all its neighbors, including India. If you recall Prime Minister Imran Khan's statement that if India took one step towards peace, we're willing to take two.
And then in terms of, the importance of the ties with the United Arab Emirates, I know the Expo is coming up as well, and where do you see this going? And how often do you think you would want, and how strong tougher ties would you like to create with the United Arab Emirates going forward?
Well, we have very special ties with the UAE. As I said, they are historic. They're well-grounded. Sheikh Zayed is not just remembered in Pakistan, he's loved in Pakistan for what he did for Pakistan. We acknowledge the fact that whenever we've been in difficulty, our brothers in UAE have stood by us. We have a fairly large and a fairly active diaspora in UAE, and their contribution to the socio-economic development of UAE is recognized by the leadership over here. So we need to build on it, and there are plenty of opportunities for building on it. I've just come from visiting the Pakistan Pavilion at Expo 2020, and I want to share with you that hopefully once the Expo is launched in perhaps October, I intend to revisit UAE to showcase the hidden treasure, which is Pakistan.
He was very optimistic about what's coming up next as well with the leadership of Pakistan and where does he see the country growing over the next 10 years. So that's the question I put forward to him up next. And this is what the foreign minister had to say.
All right, so I'd like to conclude our discussion as well by talking about this vision of New Pakistan and under your position as a foreign minister and being a very key figure of the government, to what extent are you satisfied with the direction that the country is in, and what more needs to be done, and what's your legacy?
Well, a lot needs to be done. Yeah. Believe you me, when you are challenging the status quo, it's never easy. Here, we are trying to advocate a new way of doing things. It's challenging. We face difficulties. We have obstacles at every level. We are fighting them. But I am convinced that we will succeed, because that is what Pakistan needs. And that is what the youth of Pakistan, which is 60% of our population, is desiring for.
In 10 years' time, where do you see the country going?
Oh, inshallah, rising as a stable economic power with stability and with international respect.
So that was the Pakistani Foreign Minister Shah Qureshi during the interview which aired on Khaleej Times. Well, stay with us on Pulse 95. We shall be back again right after the business headlines, and we'll continue the discussions from there on, looking at more of an international focus and what's happened to the world of Bitcoin.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis, Pulse 95.
Well, viruses, they mutate all the time. It's part of evolutionary biology, and some mutations that weaken the virus, while others may make it stronger and also enabling it to proliferate faster or even cause more infections. And basically, as a virus replicates, its genes undergo random copying errors. And over time, these genetic copying errors can, among other changes to the virus, lead to alterations in the virus surface proteins or antigens. So our immune system uses these antigens to recognize and fight the virus. So the question now is, what happens if a virus mutates to evade our immune system? Could that happen with the COVID-19? virus or of the COVID-19 or the coronavirus. So now we have a new study or new reports saying that the coronavirus is likely to keep mutating, and that will cause more problems for us.
Yeah, I mean, look, the thing is, I remember when COVID-19 first came about, we were like, okay, this is what's going on. Donald Trump started quoting it as declaring it a China virus, and it spread globally. Then came the South African variant. Then came the UK variant. And everyone started panicking, saying, oh my God, the variant is here. But what's amazing, and I wouldn't say amazing, but horrifying, is this report by this virologist at the University College in London. This is quoting his interview with The Independent, and he says, and he talks about how a new dominant global strain in the coming weeks is going to come from India. The new strain of SARS-CoV-2, known as the India variant, which has caused a surge in the number of cases of COVID-19 in India, is going to carry 2 mutations that could reduce the efficacy of a number of COVID-19 vaccines. That's making me pull my hair out, thinking, what and why? But that's the situation that's there at the moment. Whilst that has not yet occurred, the nature and speed at which the virus has mutated so far, including in the form of these South African and UK variants, has certainly caused an alarm amongst the scientist community that the positive impact of vaccine rollouts could be undone in the near future.
Yeah, specifically scientists, they worry about the SARS-CoV-2 ability to alter spike proteins that is used to attach onto human cells through mutations. And the spike proteins refer to they're called as keys to entering human receptor cells. They're the mechanism through which most of the world's successful COVID-19 vaccines look to attack the virus by training various immune system responses to identify them. And the one such mutation, which was the one found in the South Africa and UK variants, the India variant, on the other hand, carries a similar mutation. It's called E484Q. And the fear is that by altering their proteins, these variants could render them less visible to the immune system of vaccinated people, making it harder to ward off infection. And according to the professor of evolution and genomics at Oxford University, he said that beyond altering the spike protein, mutations such as the one in South Africa, all right, it could unlock a whole load of other mutations elsewhere in the spike that have not yet been identified by scientists, with unknown repercussions for the severity of the virus. He's saying that the mutation in Africa took about 12 months before it became something we cared about. And 12 months from now, presumably, there'll be another one or two that are just as important. So it might keep going.
Still horrifying, isn't it? Still got to be a main part of our lives. Now, another person quoted by the specific article is something that would be music to my ears. Not the details, but the person where he's from. Professor Stephen Griffin, a virologist at Leeds University, my university where I graduated from. And that's the only part that is music to my ears. The other part, no. He said he believes that rather than continue to mutate indefinitely, there will be a limit on how far the spike protein can evolve. But I'm not sure we can accurately determine what that limit may be at this point. It's still horrifying that how things will continue to be like this. But what I do understand, and I've started to digest as a detail, is you still have to keep topping up your vaccine doses, just like how people get the influenza shots every year, and that will be part of our lives now.
Yeah, it's really important to keep taking care of yourself by putting on your face masks, and also try to get vaccinated as soon as possible. Keep your distance from other people. Take your precautions. Don't think it is over. It is not over. And we're looking at, for example, the situation in India. In infections like COVID-19, it's quite common that there would be a second wave as the virus mutates, and whichever of the mutated variant virus is stronger will spread faster. So there have been a lot of new variants that have emerged, that we just discussed that. But more people will be infected with the mutated variant in India because they haven't been adhering to the COVID guidelines. And there has been a big concern in India in particular because the numbers are going up crazy right now. And the next 3 weeks are crucial for India in terms of the spread of COVID-19, according to the director of the Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology. That's what he said yesterday. He said it is very important for people to follow guidelines very strictly because they haven't been, and there has been a big spike in India's COVID-19 cases.
Yeah, we'll certainly keep a close eye on that, as well as the global death toll as a result of the COVID-19 situation has reached beyond 3 million as well. So we'll certainly keep you posted about that. So do stay tuned to Pulse 95 and Facts. We'll be back again after the news headlines, and from there on we'll continue the discussions here on the Morning Majlis.
Join the conversation with the Morning Majlis. Pulse 95.
Bad breath.
Oh yes.
In Ramadan, we suffer from that.
It's
inevitable in Ramadan.
It's a known thing, and I thought was because a lot of people tend to not brush their teeth whilst they're fasting, and I thought it also was that the fact that people would brush their teeth before suhoor and then, go through the day and it's fine. But apparently, just because you're hungry, your breath can be nasty.
Definitely. Fasting is directly linked to bad breath. This is because not eating for extended periods of time, it impacts the amount of saliva we produce.
Okay.
It's bad enough that on normal days when you eat, and tell me if I'm wrong, when you're wearing your mask, right?
Yeah.
You can smell your breath.
Yeah.
And on normal days, you kind of feel like, if you didn't eat for like 1 hour or 2 hours, you kind of feel like you smell your breath. You're like, ugh,
Really?
I can't smell this, right? Even though like you're fine, you probably had gum or something, but you still feel like you can't smell your breath.
Change your mask.
Yeah, no, has nothing to do with that really.
Oh, okay.
But now it's like it's going to get even worse, especially with
Right.
wearing our masks in Ramadan, since we're not eating for long periods of time. So we need to find a solution to this. Our saliva plays an important role in protecting our mouth and reducing bacteria growth. And during fasting, the saliva flow, it's reduced. So therefore, we have less protection against bacteria, which can cause bad breath. This is the whole thing. So we're going to give you some expert recommended tips to maintain oral hygiene on fasting days and beyond as well. The first key is to hydrate. When do
Okay.
we hydrate though?
So they say during iftar and non-fasting hours, drink
Yes.
plenty of water. Not only can you keep this be hydrated between sunrise and sunset, but it also keeps bad breath at bay. Water helps to wash food particles, another cause of bad breath, and hence avoid halitosis, says one of the doctors who was quoted in local media, and say that avoid excess caffeine. Excess salt and other foods that lead to dehydrations will hold you in good stead, but both when you're fasting and for oral hygiene purposes. And they also say don't brush immediately after eating. Especially swishing water around the mouth right after you eat or drink something, especially foods that can cause your teeth and tongue to stain, is top tip. From some of the doctors. Rinsing and gargling is also important because you should never brush your teeth immediately after eating, whether or not you're fasting.
Yeah, they're saying, a dentist is saying that it is recommended to wait for 30 to 60 minutes after eating before you brush. The reason is that after we eat, the acid levels on the mouth, they rise and our teeth are at their weakest state. So brushing at this stage can cause considerable damage to the teeth or the tooth enamel. And waiting will allow the saliva to neutralize the oral environment and to help the recovery from acid. So that's one way to look at it. And also chewing sugar-free gum during this time could also help refresh the mouth as it turns to its normal pH level without causing any damage. Another tip is how to keep your mouth clean all day. Now, the mouth odor mostly it emanates from the tongue. So it is recommended that a tongue scraper be used daily. We probably don't do that. A lot of us don't.
No.
That's very important. While brushing and flossing 30 to 60 minutes after iftar and suhoor can reduce plaque buildup, it is recommended that using a tongue scraper, floss, and interdental aids even during fasting hours can help keep your mouth clean. So if you want to use a toothbrush during the day, it is recommended doing so with very little toothpaste applied on the toothbrush. Ensure the mouth is rinsed properly thereafter, so no remnants or taste of the paste is swallowed, especially when we're talking about Ramadan timings, fasting timings.
So what, are you part of a school of thought that says you shouldn't brush your teeth when you're fasting?
You're putting me on the spot. No, I have to brush my teeth. I can't. To be honest, but I just make sure that the just like
the water is not going in your mouth.
Yeah.
You're not swallowing the water,
and I'm not tasting anything. Yeah.
Wow, that's there's always a school of thought, isn't it? So that could be one way to protect it. But look,
And then I use also the water flosser.
oh, okay,
Yeah, so that's also it comes in very handy. It's very good for the teeth. It's better than they're saying it's better than the regular floss. So yeah, I use the water flosser as well. And before that, I brush my teeth with toothpaste.
Ideal.
Yeah.
Wow. Let us know if you've got any useful tips of maintaining good oral hygiene as part of your Ramadan preparations as well. A lot of people saying electric toothbrushes can help with thorough cleaning. Some people recommend the usage of miswak as well. Now, what I'm going to be turning our attention towards is the world of riddles. Reason being is because we've got a chance to win 500 dirhams, courtesy of Sharjah Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Pulse 95 Radio. So let's do that.
Riddle me this, riddle me that.
And we have a difficult one too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we
very
do.
tricky one. Okay, so this is how the riddle goes. If you
Okay.
know the answer, text us on 4215 because Rani and I are left confused. We've got
Definitely.
no clue
No idea.
how to answer this one. The riddle question goes by this. What's inside and outside gives you light but doesn't let you hide? Tube lights, maybe? What do I know? What's inside
What's inside
and outside,
and outside?
gives you light,
It gives you light.
But
So
does-
inside and outside gives you light.
yes,
Okay.
but doesn't let you hide.
But it doesn't let you hide.
I am still baffled and confused in terms of how to answer this. If you know a way of answering this, text us on 4215. Could be anything, don't worry. You don't have to post the right answer and boast yourself as being clever. Just say something nice and text us. Text lines are open 4215. We shall choose the winner at 9:30. It'll be Evening Karak show team. They'll be picking out the winner and selecting them and nominating them to win that 500 dirham prize voucher as part of the celebrations. Stay with us on the Morning Majlis. Up next, we've got the sports headlines and we shall continue the discussions right after that.
Stay fit. Stay fit. Stay fit.
Staying fit with a bit of, let's say, MMA fights. How about that? And we are going to be talking about Mr. Jake Paul. Reason being, Ben Askren, really well-known MMA star, and he went into the boxing ring with Jake Paul. Jake Paul, YouTuber, and everyone had this thought saying, you know what, why is he in boxing and he's going to get knocked out regardless of what he does. And he said it again yesterday. Told y'all I'm a real fighter.
Is he a real fighter?
No, not really. I mean, he trains.
Did
he does
he
train.
do well?
He won. He beat Ben Askren.
He did.
Yes, a former
Amazing.
UFC. Ben Askren was a
Maybe it
former
was
UFC
staged.
fighter.
Do you think it was just for the you know.
Getting the publicity out there?
Yeah, maybe
Paul.
for like being in a trend and all of that. Potentially, right?
Yeah. Well, he was supposed to be the first major challenge for Paul's boxing abilities, but it was a right-hander flush to the face, and it sent Ben Askren onto the ground. He wobbled back onto his feet, but the referee wouldn't allow him. That fight lasted just 1 minute and 59 seconds. Look, Ben Askren being, I've met him a couple of times as well. He's been here in the United Arab Emirates, used to play in the 1FC contest. And, you could assume they used to get beaten up, of course, they do the MMA fights. But then it was Mr. Jake Paul whose punch was so hard that it got him down.
Well, apparently, Paul, he came out fast against Askren, working off a jab that he used to Askren's head and body. And Askren, he's an accomplished wrestler who was never known as a striker in his successful mixed martial arts career. But he looked stiff and slightly robotic as he tried to figure out kind of a way inside on the younger, stronger, and faster Paul. But with Paul showing kind of solid technique, it felt clear that Askren would have to turn to things into a dirtier fight than a straight boxing match. Unfortunately for Askren, a crushing overhand right from Paul, it sent him spilling to the floor. And despite beating the count, the referee deemed Askren unable to continue and called the fight off at 1:59 mark of round 1. Now, of course, Askren, he protested the stoppage, but the replay did show that as the referee told Askren to walk forward, the former mixed martial art artist moved sideways at the same time. So Askren was shown walking backstage, smiling after the bout, apparently in good spirits after making $500,000 in disclosed pay for the bout.
Wow.
$500,000.
Well, you got to do it. This is boxing. Boxing can be a very rich sport indeed because of these reasons. And Paul said he's going to look at a boxing matchup with UFC star Conor McGregor. That would be an interesting one to catch, and I'm sure the media will go crazy over it. Paul dedicated this win to his security guard, who had sadly died 10 days before the fight.
Aww.
And he said it had been the hardest 10 days of his life. Well, that's it for now for the Morning Majlis. We shall return tomorrow morning, bright and early, 8 a.m. to keep you motivated, and hopefully come back with an easier quiz question. But if you'd like to take part in that quiz question, text us on 4215 with your answer. The question goes by this question is, what's inside and outside gives you light but doesn't let you hide? What am I? And that is the question of the day for you. If you know the answer, text us on 4215.
That is the question of the day. And if you want to catch the conversation of the day that we just had, the 2-hour conversation, you can catch it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or SoundCloud as the audio conversation. And if you want to catch the video conversation, you type in Pulse 95 Radio in YouTube. Look for the Morning Majlis playlist or videos. Subscribe, share, and like. And thank you for listening to us and being with us, accompanying us on the show.
We'll be back again tomorrow morning. Stay tuned to Pulse 95.
If you liked this episode of The Morning Majlis, drop a like and subscribe.
95.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram for all our daily updates and top stories.
Pulse.